Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach Unblocked. Tonight, my special guest is Gus Smith, the football coach at Gordo High School. Are you the athletic director there also? I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
check that.
I'm not actually.
Ah,
I'm glad.
very good. Very
You
good.
got a
Well,
good.
happy Gus Smith that he's just the head football coach at Gordo High School. Gus and I go back to his Mobile Christian days, but also as a UNA guy. Which we roar lions. We share that, and also with part of the company Future Ones, who I've been associated with now for a number of years in the last 5 years of my career, and know the Massey family well from as they went through Davidson. So, Gus, thanks for coming on. Good to have you tonight.
Yeah, it's good to do it, man. I'm glad you're happy in your retirement, and
I am.
it's always good to hang out with a coaching legend.
Yeah, well, I see you at the Renaissance. I'm sure maybe you'll run into one. Uh, the which we need to explain, since this is not just an audio about your background. That is not your home office. Let's make sure we clear
No, but it's pretty awesome though. I wish it
that. It is.
was. This is uh this is Gordo. This is downtown Gordo.
There you go. The town square. It's very impressive. But
That's right.
it's changed a lot since the last time I was there. Um,
It's a great place. Great place.
Gordo, the Green Wave, right?
One word. One word.
Right, and but Green Bay Packer looking logo and
Yeah.
style, and there you go.
Yeah.
I always thought their stuff was really cool. Just seeing
It's
pictures
awesome.
of it.
Yeah, I just got on the elevator a while ago, and the lady said, "Go pack." And I looked down because and she was from Minnesota. But anyway, I guess I became a Green Bay Packers fan. As my kids say, they say Green Wave Packers.
Green Wave Packers. Okay,
The
well
Green Wave Packers.
that's
Yeah,
close. Well,
yeah, yeah.
now, so tell us about where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to high school?
Yeah.
And then how did this journey of being a football coach start?
It's definitely an interesting story. I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, everybody's got a backstory, and so I grew up in Mobile. Um, Went to Hillsdale Middle School, then I went to Shaw my freshman year, and I was the ball boy forever, as far as I can remember. Terry Curtis was the head coach, and
Mm-hmm.
then Tommy Davis was the head coach my freshman year, and then I transferred to Daphne, which we have that connection also,
All right.
with Coach Savarese, and so we played against each other a couple of times. Well, you were coaching, I was playing in 1996 through 98.
Got you the
Uh,
Robertsdale
yeah,
Daphne window there. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So um, I guess I'm from Mobile and Baldwin County, the best of both worlds.
Got you.
Uh, like I said, I went to UNA, signed with UNA out of high school, and went and played for Coach Bobby Wallace, and then for Bill Hyde.
Gotcha.
So from there, I
Well,
had
let's
yeah,
tie some
sorry,
things. Let's tie some things together there. I mean,
all right,
Shaw. My wife Susan is a Shaw graduate,
gotcha.
as is her brothers are Shaw people. So they are,
It's
uh, as she says, back when Shaw was a high school.
I know it's sad that my two schools that I love to claim is Hillsdale Middle School Mustangs, and I still got the jersey hanging up in my room, and then Shaw Rebels, and neither one of them are a school anymore,
right.
and they were Shaw was a powerhouse. I mean, that's
Oh
all I
yeah.
knew was Shaw High School.
Oh yeah. I mean, Marty McDowell and
Yeah,
people like that.
Leonardo Carson, Kelvin
No,
Ziegler,
well, yeah, and NFL Hall of Famer. I'm forgetting his name. Offensive lineman.
Chris Samuels.
Chris Samuels that Danny Smith coached when
Yeah,
when Danny was there. So a lot of
yeah,
people in the Mobile area
yeah.
certainly cut their teeth in coaching at Shaw High School.
My freshman year, the coaching staff was unreal. Bart Sessions,
Mhm.
Danny Smith, Marty McDowell, um, TJ Salmon, um, Tommy Davis, Terry Curtis.
Mhm.
I mean, it was like a crazy. don't know if I said Bart Sessions already.
You
Bart
did,
was
you
on
did,
there.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, like to look back and all the great coaches that were on that staff
Oh,
was
no doubt. And
phenomenal.
of course, Danny and Bart both worked with me at Davidson,
Yeah,
and Henry Hardy, who was the head football coach at Shaw there for a little window. He handles our millions. He's our
yeah,
financial planner,
yeah.
and
Really?
just really good guy. That
Yeah,
his office is out of Spanish Fort, and so known Henry for a really long
yeah,
time, and then of course as you said, the UNA connection.
yeah,
Now Bill Hyde was one of my coaches. I mean, he was
yeah.
your head coach, but he was there as a defensive coordinator at UNA when I played in
Yep.
1980 and 81.
I'm sure Coach Slater was probably there too. He's been
Well,
coaching for us.
me and Willie did not coach together. Willie was at Troy when I was
Yeah,
when he played. Willie, of course, played at Livingston, and then was coaching at Troy when I was at UNA. And then it's actually how I ended up at Southern Illinois with Rick Rhodes in '88 was Willie didn't go to Southern Illinois. Willie stayed at Troy and
right.
and didn't go with him. But Willie and I spent many a days talking the triple option and the belly and the nuances of that. And of course,
He's a
Coach
legend.
Hyde was the only real 4-3 guy around. He was so far ahead of his time. Everybody was a 3-4 or a split defense, straight 8-man front, and Coach Hyde was running a 4-3. And
Yeah,
they were the only team. 1980 and 81. They were the only team ourselves. The only people we couldn't move the ball on was ourselves. I mean,
right.
we couldn't hardly make a first down in practice. And
Yeah, those practices were brutal up there. I try to like you can't really coach high school football like we practiced back then, but man, those practices were brutal. It was
right.
just you just basically the scrimmage the whole time. And Coach Slater was the meanest, nicest person ever. He was I mean, I played the B back and the wing back, in the triple option. So but
Mm-hmm.
he wouldn't let my first 2 years, he would not let me run with the running backs, like condition with the running backs. He made me condition with the offensive linemen. And so and it used to piss me off because I was an offensive lineman. And every day I try to sneak over there and condition with the running backs. He's like, Smith, get over there. But finally we kind of had it out one day and we talked about it last year at the Super 7 when I saw him. And I told him if I was any faster, I wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up there is because I wasn't as fast as if I was any faster, I'd be at Bama
Right. There you go.
or
Well,
somewhere else.
and Willie was, of course, I mean, Bobby, I saw Coach Wallace at UNA's first game this past year. They've had the preseason kickoff classic at Crampton Bowl, and
Yeah,
which they're actually going to be in it again next year. So we're planning on going again next year in a group of our, my teammates. We're going both years, but I got to see Coach Wallace. And I just went up, hugged his neck, and thanked him for for what he had done for my school. I mean, win 3 national championships. He had this big grin on his face. And he
man.
said, "You know what, Fred? If I hadn't hired Willie Slater, I was about to be fired."
Yeah,
He said, "Willie," he said, "I know he said, I was on the ropes. I was in trouble. We had to do something." He said, "And I hired Willie, and Willie put in the belly."
yeah,
And
he did.
and that changed the world. He said, we didn't have, we just did not have enough offense out the tight end side, out the backside, away from the wing back.
Yeah,
And we just, and Willie came in and saved our jobs, and we win, 3 national championships because
yeah,
of him. So he was
yeah.
very quick to point that out.
That those first few years, he had Cody Gross and a guy named AJ Lamar was
Right.
toting it. I know you know Cody Gross, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I tell
they're
Cody every time I see Cody, I remind him that that because of him, I'm listed just as a letterman in all the record books at UNA now. You know, I still had a few records until Cody rolled through there.
Yeah.
He destroyed it. And of course, then, you know, Hall and all the other ones, they did. Milwee and all those other great quarterbacks came through there and just lit it up. And did such a great job. So
no, I kind of hate they're playing Division I football right now because I mean I don't want to down them or anything, but it was almost better because in Division II they were playing for national championships and it was like you're still, you know, when you're playing Division I football, it's kind of hard to play for a national championship right now for UNA, but hopefully, you know, they'll get to that one day. But it was cool to see them win championships, and that town was pretty awesome.
It was, and you know, of course, now we have, you know, Brent Dearman as our head coach at UNA. Who, you know, I offered Brent his first job out of college. I had told his daddy that when Brent was a math major, and I told his daddy when I ran into him, I said, "Look, when he graduates, we'll have a spot for him. Just get him here." And so that summer he graduated. He came in, brought Brent in, met him for the first time. I said, "Like I told you, Dad, you have a spot. We have a math position. You got a spot, and we'll go from there." And he wanted a supplement, and I said, "Well, it's middle of the summer. I've already committed my supplements. I'm you know." I said, and I told him, "So one of these days you'll be a head coach and you'll understand this. I'm not going to fire somebody who's been here, gone through spring that I've committed to get you right now. And as bad as I want you, as much as I want to have you, I'm not going to do that. And you know, but I can promise you, you'll end up with a supplement, you know, quickly because it's just the nature of the beast." And and he just couldn't do it. And you know, so I think he maybe ended up at Viger, but he ended up being a head coach really quickly, and things worked out for him. Worked out just fine. So
he's had a good career.
Yeah, and I don't think that not having an assistant coach at Davidson on his resume has affected him in a negative manner at all. So you left UNA. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to tell a Davidson story. One of my favorite memories. Every time I think about Davidson, I think about when I was in 6th grade. I was the ball boy at Shaw. Terry Curtis was our coach, and back then Davidson wasn't that good. So it didn't seem like, I don't know, but as a sixth grader, I didn't think they were that good. Maybe not as good as they were when you and Coach Vic were there. But anyway, so we're playing Davidson at Baker High School. I mean, that's the way it used to be. And so we're in a tight one over there. I don't know what the score was, but I know it was close. I know Coach Curtis was on edge, and me and my buddy Matt Fentner were ball boys. And I had the ball I had 2 balls in each hand, and we're probably on about the 40-yard line, and it's like a huge play in the game. We just got out of a timeout, and so we're just kind of there, standing there waiting. And all of a sudden, my buddy Matt came up and knocked the ball out of my hand from the back, and it went out on the field. And I just remember I looked at Coach Curtis, and he looked at me, and it was like, you know, I was just like, I mean, it was pure panic, and I didn't know if I should run out there and get the ball real quick or not. And then like the referees called timeout. It was like a whole big thing, and it was like, but it was against Davidson, and it was a bad feeling.
Yeah, I mean we've all at some point in time had an oops, and hope that somebody will be compassionate enough with us to let us off the hook at least. So from UNA, after you finished at UNA, you know, why coaching? What happened? How did this all come about?
So this is so I had no idea I'd be coaching. So when I first got back, I went and coached a summer with Coach Savarese, who was my head coach at Daphne. Coached a summer, you know, 22, messing around. I didn't really know what I really wanted to do. Still hanging out with my buddies, and so my stepdad was a fireman in Orange Beach. So he said, "Hey, you should be a fireman." So I went to rookie school and became a fireman. So I was a firefighter. I was a paid firefighter from 2002 until 2020, actually. So I was 17 years I was a fireman. But in 2010, I got back up with Coach Vickery.
Mhm.
Long story there, but I got back with Coach Vickery when he was coaching at Daphne, and he asked me to coach the freshman football team. And I said, "Man,
Right.
I don't know anything about football anymore. I like watching it." And he said, "Hey, just come out there."
Mhm.
So I go out there, started coaching freshman football with a guy named Coach Dempsey. And I didn't know anything. I knew they were out there saying, Fiji, Omaha, set, go. And I said, how do they even know what play they're running? They
Mhm.
said, well, they're saying it as they're going. I'm like, I'm used to saying like pro right, 34 lead.
Right.
So, but anyway, so I coached the freshman team that year. It was pretty awesome. And that was fun. I was still working 24 on and 48 off shift work at the fire station. So that was 2010, won the state championship.
Mhm.
Daphne did. That's when they had all these crazy players. And
Right.
so I was kind of like,
Beat us in the semis.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So I kind of got to see that firsthand. So the next year I came back, did the freshman thing again, and coached with Coach Dempsey again. I learned a
Yeah.
little bit
Is
more.
that Alvin Dempsey?
No, I cannot remember his first name to save my life, and that's terrible.
Okay. I was trying to remember who was coaching that team during that time. We had a Coach Dempsey that worked at Denton Middle School, in our feeder program at Davidson for a couple of years, and
Yeah,
I lost track of him. So
I think he's at Baymonette right now. See
okay.
if but anyways, he taught me a lot because I didn't really know anything about anything. He taught me a
Mhm.
lot. I actually talked about him in my press conference when I got the Gordo job. But so coached next year 2011, and then coached again in 2012. Started coaching the linebackers in 2012, and then my buddy Ham Barnett that I grew up with, childhood best friend, he got the Cottage Hill Christian job, and I grew up in Mobile, and he called me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming over here and coaching with me at Cottage Hill Christian?" I said, "Are y'all the Crusaders?" And he said, "No, man, it's the Warriors." I'm like, "Okay, sure." So it was right next to my house. Actually, I lived on Cody, so I
Mhm.
go over there and start coaching with Ham. And then every time I would tell somebody I coach at Cottage Hill, they would always say, "Are y'all the Crusaders?" And I'm like, "No, we're the Warriors." So, anyways, I go over there. This is 2014. I coach with him there, and then I remember that's the year Carry On Johnson and Madison Academy played in the 3A state championship, and that was
Mhm.
the first time I'd ever really watched a 3A state championship because that's
Right.
what we were. I'd only seen 6A at the time, and that was 2014. So I coached there, and then I re-met Coach Cottrell. I was at Fusackley's one day. And I knew Coach Cottrell from high school a little bit. I tried to walk on at Florida State, so I
Mhm.
kind of knew him a little bit from high school. And I saw him again in Fusackley's. He asked me what I was doing. Told him I was coaching at Cottage Hill, and we had actually played them the year before. And he said, "Hey, tomorrow I'm going to be named the Mobile Christian head coach. You should come coach with me." And Coach Cottrell. It's pretty hard to tell Coach Cottrell no.
Well, I guess he was at Chickasaw
He was at
at
Chickasaw.
that time, right? Okay.
Yeah, he was at Chickasaw, and Tommy Wasson was the head coach at Mobile Christian. So I was thinking, like, well, I guess I could. So I left my childhood friend Ham, who still gets on to me all the time about it. And so I coached the running backs in 2015 at Cottage Hill Christian. I was still a fireman this whole time.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was the year that Coach Wasson and Coach Cottrell were co-head coaches.
Gotcha.
Coach Cottrell brought his staff in, Coach Wasson had his staff. So the next year, 2016, Coach Cottrell made me the defense coordinator. I don't even know if I really knew a lot about football at the
Right.
time. Like, not it's embarrassing looking back now, thinking like, I coached under Nate McDaniel, Bart Sessions, Hertz, those guys, and thinking like, I don't know half the things they know.
Right.
So I used to call them and ask questions to everybody, and like, so I put this simple defense in. I say I run the Bill Clark system, I guess at the time. Put this simple defense in because I didn't know much. We went 14-1, and we played in the state championship game versus Piedmont that year.
Hmm.
So the year, 2 years before, I'm sitting in the stands at a 3A football state championship game and thinking, I've never seen this before. And then 2 years later, I was the defensive coordinator in the state championship game. Pretty awesome. We lost 22-18 Piedmont, but it was one of those times where like, man, that was pretty cool, you know? And
Sure.
things kind of started rolling there at Mobile Christian after that. I think we're like 55-9 or something. Played 2 state championships, a couple semifinals. So, anyways, I coached there until about 2018. Trying to not ramble on my story here.
Mm-hmm. No,
About
I got you're good.
about 2018, I started getting phone calls from people, from coaches trying to hire me, and I would say, "Well, I can't because I'm a fireman." Just Cottrell just let me kind of miss every third day. I never missed a Sunday. I'd swap time with all these people and build up my time during football season, which all the firemen, they thought it was cool that I was a firefighter. I'm, a football coach,
Sure.
So they would swap time with me and all that good stuff. So I started getting phone calls, and I still wasn't finished with school yet, as far as a teaching degree.
Right.
So in 2018, I said, man, I need to go back to school. I need to figure something out here, either
Mm-hmm.
because this football thing's kind of getting out of hand. Um, and so I was, I had the bug, I guess, and we had success. So I was thinking, like, heck,
Sure.
I mean, maybe this is something I'm born to do. So we during that same time is when we started our company Future Ones also, but I'll go back to that in just a minute. So 2018, I went back to school, started getting my degree. It took me 2 years to get a teaching degree. In 2020, I got a call from Jackson High School. My buddy Andrew Tranchinia was the offensive coordinator there, and we kind of knew each other from Cottage Hill and just mutual friends. And he called and said, "Hey, would you like to come to Jackson?" I'm thinking, like, sure, maybe. He's like, "I can get you the head baseball coach job."
Mm-hmm.
Like, so when I told my wife, she's like, "Well, I thought you wanted to be a football coach." I'm like, "Well, I do, but I think being a head baseball coach, actually teaching at a school and being a real teacher, working for a principal, this is our opportunity." So we moved to Jackson, Alabama. um, Coached up there. We actually went to the semis. It was an awesome year. I was the head baseball coach up there, busting it for a year, thinking like, "Hey, I guess I'm gonna be a baseball coach." I was still coaching football, and in April of 2020, no, I'm sorry, April of 2021, I got a phone call from Gordo, uh, asking if I had any interest in that job. Thinking, yeah, absolutely, I do.
Good job.
We battled Gordo, and I was at Mobile Christian 4 times in the semis or the quarterfinals. I mean, we had some wars with Gordo, so I knew a ton about them. So, I mean, that was a great job. I applied for some bad jobs before that, just to be a head coach. So
Sure.
I'm thankful. At the time, I was real pissed off that I didn't get an opportunity to coach at a certain few schools.
Right.
Um, but I'm thankful that Gordo called, and I'm at where I'm at now. So I'm lucky to have a first head coaching job like Gordo.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I was doing the years there with you. So you were the baseball coach at Jackson during COVID.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
rough.
So
Yeah,
you had
the first 2 weeks. We were fixing to kick off the season. The first 2 weeks, like, "Hey, we're canceling school and y'all can't practice."
all right.
Okay. So it was a rough year, and just trying to practice and play games, and
Oh
we
yeah.
got cut short, and that was a weird time in our lives, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I remember Scott Riles talking to me about the things that they had to do. He gets hired at Bay Minette at Baldwin County High School, and the next week they shut it down. He did
Yeah,
not meet his team till the summer,
I've heard
and,
that he got.
and just they're having to take their temperature every day when they went to practice when they finally let them come back, and
Yeah,
and all that stuff. I was so thankful that I had nothing, that I was done with it by then, that I
yeah.
did not, I was just too old,
When
to
was your
have,
last year?
2017, and
2017. Okay.
20, I retired 2018, but the and then of course I was in semi-pro then, and we rock and rolled through it. I mean, we never we took like 2 weeks and sort of figure out what are we going to do with the league, and we said, you know what, we're going to play. If you don't want to play, you ain't got to. Nobody's going to tell you. Nobody's going to make you.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was just so crazy. Everybody wanted to play. So we finished out our year, had our championship, and went on with life pretty much as normal as you possibly could during that. And
right,
but it was I was so thankful that I wasn't AD head footballing a school through that.
Especially my first year ever being involved in the school.
Oh yeah, I mean, just crazy.
It was.
And now, so Mobile Christian, so Trent Massey, Future Ones, and how did all that happen? But I mean, besides the fact now that you may be the luckiest sucker that I have ever met in terms of right place, right time, right guy. I mean. Not really an oops. I mean, you meet Ronnie Cottrell at Foosackles. I mean, what's the crap? I mean,
And then
unbelievable.
And then my first year really ever coaching, I coached the linebackers at Daphne, and I had Michael Prince and Ryan Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like, I'm a great coach. This is easy.
Yeah, I guarantee you.
So really Future Ones came about when I was coaching at Daphne. Kind of the 2 years that I was the freshman coach, after practice, I would go up and watch the varsity practice. And then if anybody knows me, I have trouble just watching and not like getting involved. Mm-hmm. So I started getting involved with the scout team. I kind of found my way where, hey, I could help out with the scout team. They're really unorganized over here, and kind of everybody hates everybody over here. I changed the name of the scout team to the Future Ones because we're the future first. I mean, they're the future first stream. Sure. So we became kind of a team inside of the team, Right. And so, so I changed the scout team up a little bit as far as like, I try to put them in the exact number that they were. Mm-hmm. I just tried to
create some pride in that group of people.
Yeah. Sure. So if number 2 was in the slot to the field, and they ran jet sweep to the boundary with number 2, they never gave it to him one time. But if number 2 was to the slot to the boundary and ran to the field, they give it to him 98% of the time. Sure. Well, I wanted our defense to know like those kind of things. So, and the defense coordinator at the time, I won't name his name, he wasn't really listening to me, but I knew what I was doing inside my heart. I knew I was that's what I was going to do one day.
Right.
And so Trent just got here. So,
hey, Trent, how old is Trent? How old is Trent now?
Trent's 40. He's 58.
58.
No, he's 46.
Well, 47.
You don't need to come in right now because Gus is about to tell me how he invented Future Ones, and you basically just are the pretty face of the organization.
Yeah, I was just getting into the good part.
I don't know about the pretty face, but I'm one of the face.
Yeah, so I knew it was a negative thing, and it was a hard thing because, hey, is that the tackle that's lined up on the wrong side, or is that the tight end?
Right.
And so when they're defense is trying to set the defense, they didn't know if that's a tight end or just the tackle lined up wrong. I mean,
it's hard to determine unbalanced when you don't have numbers on.
Right.
No question.
Yeah, or is just the guy that's on the scout team.
Right.
There's a reason why he's on the scout team,
Right.
And so so I started calling Future One. So because I kind of had that in the back of my mind, and then when I went to Cottage Hill, we did it a little bit there. So I've got a son who's the same age as Trent's son, and I was coaching their travel baseball team in the summer, and Trent was going to help me too. And Trent was running a bottled water company in Africa, which I thought was pretty awesome. Because I'm just a good old boy football coach and fireman, and this guy's running a bottled water company in Africa. And so we were at a baseball game one day at Mobile Christian, ironically, and he was asking me if I had any business ideas. And so, because he was telling me he was a businessman, he does a bunch of business stuff, and I was cutting grass at the time. I wanted landscape business like every other fireman. And was cutting grass, coaching football, was a fireman. And so I told him about this idea, and Trent, he didn't know much about football at the time. So he didn't even know what a scout team was. So I explained it to him, and I had made a jersey. I cut the front out of a jersey and taped a Ziploc bag to the front of the jersey, and then put a card down in so you could change the number of the jersey. That's what the Future Ones jersey. And then we'll talk about that in just a second. So the next morning, I met him and his wife Stephanie at a Cracker Barrel just to tell him about my business idea. So I literally walked in there with this old Rawlings jersey with a Ziploc bag taped to it, and I cut the front off a Trapper Keeper and wrote a number on there. It's number 10, and I put it down in there to replicate how we could change the numbers of the jersey without having to take the jersey off. So I tell them about it. And I don't even know what I was really talking about. They didn't know what I was talking about either, I don't think. So the next day he kept calling me, and I wouldn't answer the phone because I was kind of embarrassed. Like, oh God, the guy thinks I'm an idiot. So he called me for like a week straight. And so finally I answered the phone, and he said, man, I know a guy who sews t-shirts. And I was like, because he knows everybody through the church.
Right.
He knows everybody. He can find out. I mean, he can find somebody that does something through the church. And so the next thing I know, I'm on a plane flying to Mexico to a real live sweatshop. And I know I probably shouldn't say that, but that's what we were doing. When we got there, I was looking around, and we were in a place that there were thousands of sewers in there sewing. And so they sewed they took our idea. I drew it on a piece of paper. We sat in this room with these engineers, and they sewed a jersey. They sewed a jersey, which our first jersey ever was a bag, but that's a whole nother story. I had the jersey that I wanted, and I showed it to them, but it was inside of a bag. So the guy we were talking to, the engineer, was from Bangladesh. And he was talking to a guy from Honduras,
I can tell you that 5 years of semi-pro, I was approached by people from every one of those countries trying to sell me their jerseys. Trust me. I mean, I got messages weekly from every country on the planet can get you jersey real cheap.
And they can.
And look, I've told Future Ones, I do business locally with Future Ones. I am not interested. No, my product be very good.
It might be good the first time, but it won't be.
They were basically disposable. I mean, they would last 1 year and fall apart. And
this is a tough business, but and so we're down there. We make our first jersey. We come back. We wear them the next year at Mobile Christian, the whole year. Where the front panel comes off, we finally got what we needed. So we wore them the whole next year. That was 2017. And so we wore them, and I mean, it was pretty cool. And so Trent knew somebody through the church who knew somebody that was a equipment manager for Alabama. They invited us to come speak at the SEC Equipment Managers Conference in Gulf Shores.
All right.
So we get there, and I'm still thinking, like, there's no way the college guy to go buy this jersey. So we get there. All the equipment managers are hungover because they went to the floor bam the night before. So they're sitting in this room. It's like, I mean, we're the first speakers. So they're sitting in this room, and I'm not going to say anything. Trent's going to talk. And so he gets up there. Starts talking, and there's like, these guys are like half asleep and chugging bottled water back there. And so when we get done, we kind of walk outside. We're standing there like, how'd it go? I have no idea. Well, this guy named Goose, who is the equipment manager at Texas A&M, walked up to us and said, hey, that's brilliant. That's genius. I mean, we need that. So I'm thinking, like, is he serious right now? And so we ended up, Texas A&M was our first ever customer.
Right.
And they bought the scout team jerseys. It's on our website now. They still wear them. Their scout team wears, or their Future Ones wear royal blue jerseys at Texas A&M. So from there, SMU bought it, Ohio State, Virginia, UAB, South Alabama, all these colleges started buying it, started spreading. And so then 2000, so we did that for a couple of years. We just tried to sell the scout team jersey, and we didn't really know. I was still a fireman. Trent was still running the bottled water company in Africa. We're trying to, peddle these scout team jerseys. And then our buddy now, George Bates, is a head coach at Centerpoint. He got the Woodlawn job. And I'm just scrolling through Twitter one day. It was on Sunday, it's 2019, and I saw where he got the Woodlawn job. Well, I didn't know him from anybody at the time, so he just, said he got the Woodlawn job, and there was no jerseys, no pants, everything had been like in some type of flood or something in their field house.
Right.
Well, I sent him a message on Twitter and said, "Hey, do you need some jerseys? We can get you some," because I went down to our factory and I saw those guys down there making real jerseys. I knew we had the capability
Right.
of making a real jersey. So he sends me a message back, he said, he had no idea who I was at the time. So he said, "I'll call you after church." Okay. So we talk on the phone, and this is like mid-July. I mean, the season starts August. So I tell him all kind of lies. I tell him, "Yeah, we can make a game jersey. We can do it for you." So we call down there. We get some jerseys going on. We send them I don't even know how we did the mock-up at the time. And we made Woodlawn jerseys, and they were there in like 2 weeks. And Trent and I drove up there and hand delivered them to Bates. We wore those jerseys for like 4 years, but I had no idea if they would last one game, one season. Like, we had no idea.
Right.
We made those jerseys, and then Coach Bates, he's our biggest customer now, obviously, and he started telling people, and the next thing you know, like, we're selling game uniforms, and it snowballed quick. And I've heard about businesses growing too fast, but there was a need in Alabama because of the evil empire BSN. Most coaches only had one option, and they were strong armed by them, and we gave them the option of something different. And but we didn't really know how great our product was at the time. I mean, coaches would ask, "How's this hold up?" And say, "Hell, I don't know." Like, I don't. Like, I don't. But now, so at that same exact time, Russell got out of team sales.
Right.
And so we kind of knew.
It was great timing right there as that worked out. I mean, unreal.
And then the whole Kaepernick thing happened after that. So a lot of coaches got away from Nike, but that's probably don't need to get into that. But so Russell got out of team sales, and we knew Russell was the corporate sponsor of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. And I just so happened to play for Coach Savarese in high school.
Right.
And he was the
executive director at that time.
Yeah, right. So we're driving to Snellville, Georgia, to go to a sewing factory there to see if they could sew some jerseys for us in the United States, because we really wanted our jerseys to be made in the United States, which is impossible, by the way. So we were driving there, and so I was reading Trent. He was driving. I was reading Trent the story about how Russell's going out of team sales business. So I sent Coach Savarese an email because it was like 9:30 at night. He responded like right away and said, call me tomorrow. So I called him in the morning. He said, "Can y'all come to Birmingham?" So we drove from Georgia to Birmingham the next day and met with the AHSA about being the corporate sponsor of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. What year was this, Trent? Yeah, 2017. So we had made about $35,000 total. We're sitting in meetings with Coca-Cola, Alpha,
Regions.
Regions. Yeah. So we're sitting in there with like billion-dollar companies that we made $35,000 last year. So like you said, right place, right time. And I may be giving out too much information on future ones here, but
that's a great story. I mean, and
we're not
even me and Trent. We of course their daughter was my secretary in my office at Davidson the last year there, and answered the phone for me in second block every day. And
Brooklyn.
And he wanted to get Davidson in uniforms, and I wanted to, but I'm a very loyal individual, and I had been with you used the term strong arm a while ago. Well, nobody's strong arm me. I'm just very, very loyal. But I've told
Yeah.
so-and-so that I'm going to use your uniform and then I'm going to use it. But I
Yeah.
also told Trent, the first chance I get, I will buy your stuff and we will do nothing but future ones.
Yeah.
And
You did that.
first chance I got, I went with it. And again, y'all's
Yeah.
jerseys, I mean, they're 5 years old. And and we probably in that 5 years did a half a dozen fill-ins.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
We're proud of them.
they're very durable. They wear well, and you launder them properly and all that. I mean, you don't you take care of them the way they're supposed to be taken care of. I mean, it's outstanding product, no doubt.
Oh, at the beginning though, I mean, because my business world and my coaching friend world, they collided all the time. Trent really didn't care because he didn't know a lot of the coaches personally, and I knew I was trying to get into coaching. So I was scared that I was going to ruin my reputation maybe as future ones being a coach also. So we wanted to tell the truth, like, how do these jerseys hold up? I don't know. Can y'all wear them this year and tell us? And so now we'll put our jerseys up against anybody's. And
Sure.
I mean, now we're proud of them. I mean, people ask me all the time, like, how many schools wear y'all stuff? I mean, how many, the better question is how many schools don't wear our stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to, I can name a few that have never bought anything from us, but it just makes sense to buy stuff from us because, I mean, we're here, we're in Alabama. We're the corporate sponsor of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. You can pick up the phone and call the owners probably at any time.
Right.
And people do. I live this double life of being a head football coach and, being one of the owners of Future Ones. But I think all my coaching friends have definitely taken advantage of me. I give a lot better deals than Trent does.
Well, Trent, of course, Trent now had to. I mean, I was there as I watched Trent transition from writing things down on a piece of yellow notebook paper to actually computerized because you had so much going on.
I still do that. I still write everything down. Trent knows about like Google Docs and all kinds of stuff. Hey, I didn't know anything about.
Stephanie does. I don't know that Trent knows anything about it at all, but
that's the truth for sure. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a crazy life. And I got married and had 2 kids from the time that we started Future Ones. So that's all they know, and I mean, that's all they wear is Future Ones.
Sure.
I mean, their dad started a clothing line and that like it's their Nike, it's their Jordan, like they don't know any difference. So
well, there was a HBCU All-Star game that was played at Ladd Stadium back here a while back, and the guy that was putting it on calls me the day before the game and says, "Coach, do you still have your uniforms?" Because I sold the team. And I said, well, I still have the red set of them. The guy that bought the team has the white set. He said, we've got an all-star game tomorrow, HBCU all-star game, and our jerseys didn't come in. Could we by chance borrow yours? I said, absolutely. So I took them over to him, and so that day, that All-Star game, one of the teams wore Future Ones jerseys in that HBCU All-Star game.
Yeah.
It was a pair of Hope Storm red jerseys.
It's awesome. We actually did those HBCU jerseys the year before, 2 years before maybe, and they did the same thing. They called us a week before they were about to play, so their uniforms didn't come in, and we did those jerseys. But I actually heard if it's the same one, the Pigskin Classic, I heard that guy ran into a little trouble though.
I'm not going to comment. But anyhow, well, again, again, and I will go back and say, and it was really a misstatement on my part. You don't have that kind of luck. I mean, you've been very blessed. I mean, God has blessed your path, your journey by putting you just with great people all the way through and at the right place at the right time. And you've obviously, done a good job in building those relationships that anytime you went back to them and needed some help, they jumped right in there to help you. And that's a credit to you and how you carry yourself. So yeah, I'm not big on coincidences or luck. I mean, God, we say God is in control of who is in control. And even if something bad's going on, well, God's in control of the bad guy too. There's a reason the bad things are happening to you too, because there's somewhere he's getting you. And so just, ride it out and see where it takes you on the back end. And we all end up in that place every now and then too. So.
I've definitely had some luck. I played for some great coaches. Like Trent says, he has favor. He had to teach me about the term favor. But I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I've definitely had favor, and I've been in the right place at the right time, and I've built relationships, and I think I'm a very loyal person.
Right.
So I think that, and like I've been around some great people. I played for great coaches. I've coached under great coaches. I've coached under Coach Vickery, Coach Savarese, Coach Cottrell, Ham Barnett,
Right.
Cody. Those are all great guys, what the crazy thing about being a head coach now is I have a hard time, and people that grew up with me, they know, and Coach Savarese, coached me, he probably knows too. I have a hard time of not hating who we're playing. And I automatically hate the other coach. And then I meet him before the game and we talk on the phone the week before. And then after the game, we shake hands. And I'm thinking like, that's a great guy,
Right.
And so we
Right.
become friends. And I become friends with like arch rivals and these guys that like, I really hate them because we're playing against them. And I hate to say that, but it's like, I have hate in my heart for everybody we played. I played football like that. I coached football like that. I prepare on Sundays like that. Everything is like personal when it comes to like coaching against somebody. And then you meet the coach of the other team. He's like, God, he's a great guy. Like, I don't hate him at all.
That's funny. Because I'm right the opposite. I mean, folks would get we would be playing Murphy, and me and my wife and Ron Lee and his wife, both of them named Susan, we'd be out to at Wings or something the night before we played, just visiting, and folks would be like, don't y'all hate each other? What are y'all doing? That's just not right. No, we really don't. I mean,
I used to see that with Terry Curtis and Steve Mask. I'm thinking like, man, they're the biggest rivalry in Alabama, just about, and they hang out together. I can't separate that, but the coaching world's a tight knit community, though, for sure.
It is. Well, buddy, thanks so much for coming on and giving up your time. I know you're busy there, and I appreciate you sticking to your commitment and doing this tonight. Your story is awesome, and still got a long career ahead of you, and look forward to watching you and following you, and you appreciate all that you do for high school sports throughout this state.
Thank you. I appreciate you. It's always good to hang out with the future.
All right, appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.